Welcome to the Raynin Threes podcast with Alan Ray and Mike O'Connell.
Hello and welcome to the 15th installment of Raynin Threes. I am your host, Mike O'Connell, here with my friend and co-host, the Nova Hoops legend, Alan Ray. Hey, Ray and I have another special guest for you guys today, and that is the former Villanova head coach and now CBS Sports Analyst, Coach Steve Lappas. Coach Lappas, thank you so much for joining us. How you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great, but it's a pleasure being on with you guys. You know, I watched A-Ray his 4 years at Villanova. Too bad I didn't have a guy like him, too. I can tell you that. But, you know, it's a pleasure being with you guys.
What's up, Coach? Everything's good. Good having you on with us. Definitely looking forward to chopping it up with you. Talk about some memories and some old Villanova nuggets that you can give us.
Yeah, it's seriously, Coach. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We're just getting started here on Raynin Threes. We're excited for the basketball season for both the Big East and for Villanova. I think it's an exciting time. Coach Neptune finally got some recruits this past week. We saw the blue and white scrimmage, and I think everybody is really feeling the basketball mentality now, about a month away from the season. Can you give us some of your takeaways from the Big East and how it's going to look when it comes to January when these guys started going at it?
Well, I think you have 4 or 5 really good teams in the Big East, and I'm obviously throwing Villanova in there. You know, let's understand this about Villanova. They had some bum luck last year when you think about it. You know, the Cam Whitmore injury really hurt. For that kid to be sitting out for 6 weeks, and he basically, because I talked to Kyle about this, he basically comes back after 2 days of practice and plays in the Wells Fargo Center against Oklahoma. As a freshman, I don't care how good you are, and obviously he's a tremendously talented kid, as he showed at the NBA Summer League, but, you know, to get kids into the flow as freshmen is difficult. So they kind of were behind the 8 ball in many ways as soon as the season started. And then, Armstrong, I don't think, even though I saw glimpses of him being really good, and he had a very good summer this past summer, he wasn't ready to really assume the big role. So, and then you had, obviously, Justin Moore being out for half the year. Yeah. So, I mean, you know, they had about as bad a luck last year as I think you can find it out. Villanova's had a lot of good luck in the last 15, 20 years, too. Let me say that. But they had some bum luck last year. But I think Villanova's going to be up there. And let's face it, Marquette, you got to probably say they're the odds-on favorite coming in. They lost Prosper, who they thought was going to come back, who the NBA loves, and I loved him last year when I saw him. But when you look at what they've got back, Shaka's done a tremendous job. Really, really good. And he kind of, Alan, does it the old school way. He doesn't, even though Tyler Kolek was a transfer, he kind of doesn't do the transfer portal that much. And he kind of builds it. So, you know, you have Villanova, you got Marquette, you got Creighton, that's very good. And then you got, you know, let's face it, St. John's with Rick Pitino there. You know, the guy doesn't lose.
I wouldn't mind a game in Arthur Ashe Stadium. I would go there to see that. That would be big.
That would That'd be unbelievable. And,
only Rick Pitino.
And you know what, Alan, when they hired, when that job was open, I was like, there's only one guy who is a guarantee to win. Now, I'm very good friends with Ed Cooley. So I think Ed Cooley is a tremendous coach.
Yeah.
Would I say he's 100% guaranteed going to win at Georgetown? I think he's going to. Well, Rick Pitino, I think he's 100% guaranteed going to win at St. John's because of the tremendous track record and who he is. And I love Ed Cooley's one of my best friends. But when they hired him at St. John's, it was a no-brainer.
Yeah. Speaking about last year, and then going into this year, do you think that had any impact on recruiting this year? You know, we got some recruits now, but it kind of went further into the fall season, you know, didn't get anything in the summertime. Do you think that kind of had a little bit affect last year's play, effect on now?
Let's face it. You're Kyle Neptune. You're in your, I mean, yes, you had that 1 year at Fordham, but you're replacing Jay Wright at Villanova. And, you know, that's not easy. That's as hard a thing. in a lot of ways, in some ways, it's easier to replace Shagetsky down there than it was to replace Jay here, especially for a guy who was only a head coach 1 year at Fordham. He had a great year there, but, they had a 500 record. So it's easy in recruiting, and, people do take shots at you. It's easy in recruiting to say to a kid, hey, guess what? That's not Jay Wright there anymore. That's Kyle Neptune, who doesn't really have a track record. So that makes it hard. Then you have a year like last year where I said they had a lot of bad luck, and that makes it a little bit harder. So I think Kyle's going to be terrific. I think he's a terrific coach, and he's going to do it. But let's face it, when you've won 2 national championships, and you've been to the Final Four a bunch of times, and you're in the Naismith Hall of Fame, and now you're coming in as a guy who's coached 1 year at Fordham, it's not easy.
Yeah.
But in time, Kyle Neptune will do great. And that's why I'm so happy he got Bamba and he got Akeem Hart. I mean, you throw Dixon in there, you throw Justin Moore in there, hey, guess what? That's a really, really good team that he's got a chance to have this
year. Yeah, definitely. And I think that was one of the points that was missed so much last year. People didn't take into account the injuries that went on in the beginning of the year. Didn't take into account, this is a big coaching change. You're replacing Jay Wright. It's not like you're just replacing any old Joe Schmo at a university. So I think that got overlooked a lot. And this year, with the new acquisitions that they got, and especially what they're doing in the front office with the general manager position, there's a lot of guys from my class that signed that's back there helping out, coaching. So I think Villanova is moving in the right direction. They got hit hard last year, but we're back on our feet. That's how I feel.
I totally agree with you. And, let's face it, people were, one thing about college basketball, when you get down, people want to keep you down.
Yeah.
And, so people were looking to step on after all those years of Villanova doing what they did. So, and plus, not only that, but even though Kyle was there and Jay wasn't, when they come into somebody else's building, it's still Villanova. So you got to take everybody's best shot on top of it. So here you got injuries, here you got a new coach, and here you got your Villanova where, the name on the jersey is going to cause a lot of excitement in a lot of buildings around the league. So, you got to, not only do you have to go play other people, but you got to play when the fans are going crazy because they want to beat you so bad. So it was a lot of things. You throw it all together, but it all starts with players. And if you got players injured, you got a problem.
I say that all the time. I don't care how good the coach is. Like, the coach needs players in order, to be successful,
Everybody thought, Alan, that, Jay had these guys. Yeah, and a lot of them weren't high-level recruits. Josh Hart was not a high-level recruit. Bridges was not a high-level recruit. But how about this? All those guys not only are in the NBA, but they're good pros. They're all really legitimate starting NBA players. So Jay had really good players, but he took advantage of it, and he won with them. But he had good players.
I feel like Villanova sometimes is like a good farm system for the NBA. If you wanted to have Villanova, the way they run their program, how they develop people, it's like a really good farm system that prepares these guys for the next level.
I don't think there's any question. I think, you just take a look at you got a guy like Tom Thibodeau, who was really a taskmaster as a coach, very much an X and O guy, and he's got the Villanova guys all over the place. Even Arch even Arch is there now. I don't know how much Arch is going to play, but those other 3 guys are right in the middle of everything. So obviously there's a lot of respect out there for Villanova, and I think there's been a lot of respect for the NBA by the NBA Villanova. I mean, I had 7 guys playing the NBA.
Yeah.
So it's something. I think we get good kids, and I think people know that at Villanova you get good kids that work hard, and get good players.
Yeah, Coach, we have 4 transfers coming in now, and we saw the blue and white scrimmage. Some of these guys put their skills on display. Tyler Burton, TJ Baba, Akeem Hart, we talked about.
Yeah, I didn't even mention Tyler Burton.
Yeah, I mean, these kids are legit. They're coming from other programs that aren't necessarily comparable to Villanova in terms of, just prestige and way they go about their culture. But you got to think that, all right, you're comparing to Rick Pitino. They're getting guys like Jordan Dingle, one of the best scorers in the country, and they're bringing back Soriano. So, hey, Coach Pitino has his track record. You're going to think that these guys are going to fall in line and really produce when it comes to playing St. John's basketball. But at Villanova, it's a little bit different, right? We always have had guys that come in from high school, maybe redshirt a year, and develop from year 1 into year 4. Now we have these 4 guys that just came in months ago, and now they're expected to go ahead and lead this team. How do you think it's going to play out for them?
That's a very tough. Some guys have been really good with the portal. Look at Ed Cooley. Ed Cooley now this year he still got his 2 best players are back this year, but he has in the last 4 years, every year his best players were gone, and he had to reload again. And he does a great job of getting these guys ready to play in one season. When I was coaching, it was about recruiting guys and having them, and then they stink as freshmen. They become good. No, it's true. They become better as sophomores. Then as juniors, they're really good, and as seniors, they're really good. You know what I mean? So there was a development. Now you got to be the kind of coach where you got to put this thing together quick. So that's where we have to see, is Kyle going to be able? You have to be that kind of coach nowadays. If you go the portal route, you got to be that way. So now Kyle's got the challenge of get these new guys who are talented, and now you got to put them together quickly. It's not like you're developing them. You got to do it now because these guys aren't even going to be around much. TJ Bamba was thinking of going to the NBA this year. Right. So you have to do this thing quick. So there's another challenge, especially for a young coach who's just getting I don't want to say his first shot, but it's basically his first shot, certainly his first shot in the big time. And that's another challenge. And that's where we're at. So today, you have to be able to coach quickly today.
Yeah, well, I mean, Coach, do you think he's going to be able to do it or what? Like, what are we looking at?
Yeah, no, I said it. I think Kyle is going to be able to do it. Okay. He's a terrific teacher on the floor. I've seen him many times. He's a great person. He's smart. He's personable. There's no reason why he can't, but there's going to be a learning curve. There has to be. Jay had a learning curve. Everybody has a learning curve. So he's got a learning curve. The problem for him is he's coming in. See, when I came into Villanova in 1992, I was replacing a legend, Rolly Massimino, but things had gone a little stale his last few years.
Right.
Jay left on top. It's not like things got stale. You know what I mean? It's not like things got stale and Kyle comes in and people are like, all right, it was time for a change. It's like he left on top. So he's coming into a really, really hard situation and he's got to do a lot of things on the fly. That's just the nature of what it is. But I think he will be fine, but there's going to be a learning curve.
Yeah, me and A-Ray, we try to preach that mentality here on Raynin Threes, but Villanova fans, they're a very, particular bunch when it comes to expectations. So,
don't worry. I know that. I lived it. You know what I mean? I lived it better than most. And I've been around the program since 1985 because I was an assistant there for Coach Massimino and won the championship there. So I understand the expectations are high. It's a great school. Obviously, a tremendous tradition, which has only been enhanced in the last 10 years. But that also makes it a tough thing, especially it's a new day and a new age. Jay built those championship teams, like you said, red shirts, recruits, guys like that. Now you got to try and do it with transfer guys. This is all different. It's all different.
Yeah, it definitely is. But I feel like our last recruits that we picked up, 3-star, 4-star, that kind of fits the mold of what Villanova has always done in the past. So I see Villanova trying to stick to their motto as well as getting players out of the portal. So like I said, I think they're in a really good position moving forward. And since we're talking about like recruiting and things like that, I want to talk about Tim Thomas. I want to talk about that whole situation and how did that come about. I mean, Tim Thomas was one of the best players in the country at the time, had a hella Power 5 schools recruiting him. Like, how did you guys get in the front run for Tim Thomas, who also was Villanova a one-and-done player?
Well, Paul Hewitt was my assistant then. He did a great job. He was very friendly with Jimmy Salmon. And I'm not going to lie to you, we ended up having our basketball operations job open, and we hired Jimmy. Now, Jimmy had been around a long time. It's not like we were hiring a guy who wasn't a basketball guy.
I know Jimmy.
So obviously, I mean, that tilted it. But the truth is, it was us in North Carolina through most of the year. Paul Hewitt did a great job recruiting him. His family, great family. And the truth is, I think Dean Smith, not that he didn't want him, he wasn't so sure. And even I wasn't so sure. It was different for us, about he was one of those guys in those days. One and dones were like rare, So I mean, he was one of the first guys coming out of high school that everybody said he's only staying 1 year. He was one of the first guys ever like that. So that's tough too, and because it was new territory for me. I was the type of guy. I was kind of like Jay. I recruited guys out of high school, and we tried to develop them and have them get better, whatever. Now you had this kid that was a phenomenal talent and a great kid, by the way. I love Tim. Tim was one of the nicest kids that I ever coached.
Yeah.
And, but, there was a lot surrounding that. And that was not easy because we also had 3 really good seniors who had won a lot of games, in Jason Lawson, Alvin Williams, and Chuck Cornegay. And then you bring this highly bally, and Tim was great. They loved him. They loved him. But, we had really good chemistry. They got along really well, whatever. But, when you have a media day and everybody's surrounding this freshman who's never, scored a basket, and now you got guys like Jason Lawson and Alvin Williams who've, been tremendous players in their own right, so there are things that you have to think about as a coach that worry you.
Yeah.
But Tim, as a person and as a player, I would do it again in a second. Because I loved him. I love him now. And, he texted me on Father's Day. Think about him. Think about this kid. He only played 1 year, yet he really loves Villanova. So, he was a good one. Not a good one, a great one.
Yeah. So you mentioned that Dean Smith, you wasn't sure if he was so sure. And then you said you personally didn't know if you were sure either. Was it because of the aspect of him being a one and done and him leaving you dry, or because maybe he wasn't the hype that everybody says it was?
Oh, no, I wasn't worried about that.
All right.
That I wasn't worried about because I'd watched him since he's 14 years old. No, I wasn't worried about the hype. This guy, he was the real deal. There's no question about it. The thing I was worried about was we had Alvin, Jason, and Cornegay, all seniors. Now Tim comes in as a freshman. He leaves. You lose 4 guys like that in those days, no transfer portal. How are you going to keep this thing going? Mm-hmm. So, and that's what happened to us. We lost those 4 guys, and we really struggled the following year. And that, that certainly takes a toll on you and takes a toll on your program. So in that regard, that was the biggest reason why I was, hesitant was, if we lose this kid, which is a good chance we're going to lose him, I was hoping obviously that he'd stay, but he was the 7th pick in the draft. What are you going to do? If you lose him, you're in the middle of a really hard rebuild.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Coach, I mean, you had some great seasons at Villanova. I mean, my dad actually was there for when you took over for Raleigh, and his first year after he graduated, you guys won the Big East tournament. You'd beaten teams like UConn, Florida, and you guys were on top of the world. And I think the rivalry that we have now, Villanova and UConn, who, the defending national champions, those guys are going to be a force to be reckoned with Dan Hurley moving forward. But just to look back on kind of the heyday of when you were there and Ray Allen and Kerry Kittles doing battle, I mean, that was a great rivalry that has now continued on to today. Can you give us a little bit of insight about what it was, what the intensity was with doing battle against UConn?
I'm not taking anything away from the present day Big East, which obviously has been really, really successful. But that Big East was a different deal.
It's all right.
In terms of talent, that was a different deal. We had, how about this? So, we got Allen Iverson, Ray Allen, Kerry Kittles John Wall in the league at the same time. You know what I mean? It was different. And the league now is good, don't get me wrong. But I've talked to a lot of people around the country, and if you think of the Big East, talent-wise, just talent-wise, forget about the coaching, which is tremendous, forget about the teams, but talent-wise, you look at the Big 12, a lot more guys getting drafted out of the Big 12 than get drafted out of the Big East. The Big East has become successful because they are older. It's become an older league, which has really helped. Back in the day, this thing was loaded. I mean, Alonzo Mourning. I mean, every night it was guys like that you were playing against. So, you know what I mean? That's what it was back then. And, you know, we had some really, really good teams. You know, the problem for me was we didn't go far in the NCAA tournament. And when you don't go far in the NCAA tournament, you got a problem. And that's what happened to me. But we won. People probably forget, when we won the Big East tournament that year against Ray Allen and Duron Sheffer and those guys, when we won that Big East tournament, we won 14 in a row. In that Big East. Big East, we won 14 in a row. So we were the hottest team in the country. And then we go lose in the first round to Old Dominion.
Triple
overtime game. And, you know, it's just here's what I'll tell you. I always tell young coaches this. I said, don't be the captain of the ship in the most disappointing loss in the history of the school, because you're going to have a problem. And certainly I was the captain of the ship in the most disappointing loss in the history of the school, probably. I mean, if you ask people, now you guys are young, but if you ask anybody over 40, Villanova person, what's the worst loss you remember? They're going to say that, because everybody thought we were going to win the championship that year. And we get knocked out in the first round. And, you know, it's funny. I remember like it was yesterday. Sometimes I get together with Alvin Williams and Jason Lawson and Eric Evers, who were on that team, Jonathan Haynes, that were on that team. And we were up 3 with 7 seconds to go. And Jason Lawson fouled Petey Sessions on a flyer 3 that had no chance of going in. He makes all 3 foul shots. We lose in triple overtime. So we're up 3 with 7 seconds to go. Truthfully, that team could have won it all. No doubt about that team could have won it all. So, but we get together with those guys, we go to dinner. And to this day, when we went out last year, Alvin says to Jason, he says, you know, Jay, why'd you foul that too? Now, this is 1995, a long time ago. And Al says, Jay, why'd you foul that? And what does Jason say naturally? Yo, I didn't touch him. Trust me, he fouled him. He fouled him.
Oh, my gosh. I mean, Coach, that is just like an unbelievable season you guys had. Doesn't take away. I know the loss was very disappointing, but you guys had some amazing players, some awesome memories that you created by beating some really impressive teams. You said 14 in a row in that Big East, going to the Garden, taking home the Big East tournament championship. I mean, it was certainly fun to watch. I wasn't even alive at that point. My dad,
how long ago it was.
My dad loves to tell me about how special that season was, and you know, it doesn't take away from the point that you guys had some great memories created. But I mean, Coach, it's slept on how many incredible Villanova guys that you were able to have there at the time, with Kittles, with Lawson, with Tim Thomas, like we talked about. But Kerry Kittles, I mean, this is a Villanova legend, right? I mean,
you got the coach, the legend.
Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I have his jersey. Like, it's all. I'm wearing the '90s hat.
Yeah, I see it,
Coach. Like, this is something where, like, you know, people don't talk about it enough. And Kerry Kittles obviously had a great career in the NBA. Was a little bit hindered by injuries, but can you tell us a little bit more about Kerry specifically and what made him so great?
Well, the thing that made him great was, number one, if he's not the smartest player I ever coached, he's without a doubt, one of the 2 or 3 smartest players I ever coached. This guy was a basketball savant. And our style was really good for him because we ran motion. And, you know, motion, as you guys know, is, you know, a lot of freelance, but you got to make reads. You got to know where you're going. It's not like you're going anywhere. You know, I mean, you got to know how to play. And Kerry Kittles was unbelievable at knowing how to play, whether it was backdoor cuts, coming off screens, ready to shoot. He could read a defense and how he was being played better than anybody. So he was so smart basketball-wise. Now, throw in there an unbelievable athlete. I mean, at 6'5", skinny, no doubt, fast, quick, great defensive anticipation. I mean, he would run when he went out on a fast break. You'd think like he's getting from one end to the other, and he had these long strides. You'd think he's getting from one end of the court to the other in like 4 steps, and he was only 6'5". But just a tremendous athlete, great shooter coming off screen. Now, we were one of the best three-point shooting teams in the country because we had him and Eric Ebers, who was a great three-point shooter on our wings. And he could come off the screen and he could J anybody. And, coupled, and, he was our leading rebounder. I remember here we had a guy like Jason Lawson at 6'11", who went to the NBA. And Gary was our leading rebounder. He averaged like 7 rebounds a game. And the thing about him was he was an unbelievable athlete. He never got tired. Never. So one time, I'll never forget, in the game, he gets, coach, take me out. I said, why? He said, I'm tired. I said, you don't get tired, man. Tired? You don't get tired. What is that? And he didn't. That was once in his career. He never got tired. And he was saying, like, we play in Pittsburgh. I'll never forget, in Fitzgerald Fieldhouse. And we're down like the whole game. We're playing terrible. He's got like 4 points. There's like 5 minutes to go in the game. He scores like 24 in the last 4 minutes of the game. So, I mean, he had that kind of explosiveness. He could really shoot it. Great kid, but really, talent is important, no doubt. But if you got talent and brains, now you really got something going, and that was Kerry.
What was his work ethic like off the court? I mean, after practices, after games, like what kind of work ethic did he have?
Tremendous work ethic. I mean, he really wanted to be a great player. That was the thing about that team in general. You had Kerry, you had Alvin Williams, Jonathan Haynes, and Jason
No
Lawson.
way Alvin was putting in extra work. No way Alvin was.
Let me tell you something. But those guys, they were animals. They would go, Alvin, Jason, Jonathan Haynes, even more than Kerry. Kerry was a worker, don't get me wrong. But those 3 guys that we had on the team those guys would play ball at 3 o'clock in the morning. If you call and say, hey, we got a good game coming, those guys were there. So, yeah, those guys, Kerry was too, don't get me wrong. But those 3 guys, for all the years that I coached as ballers, they were at a different level.
Nah, I could tell because when I was a freshman and even like sophomore at Villanova, they used to come in and play with us all the time. Those same guys that you just named. And I was just giving Alvin Williams some mess because I know he's going to hear this and he's going to call me. But, I know those guys are hard workers. Definitely looked up to those guys, too. I mean, your teams was the reason I wanted to go to Villanova. I mean, I watched Kittles, Alvin Williams. It was close to home. I used to watch you guys all the time. Not Alvin. Kerry used to have the sock, one high sock, one low sock. Down. I used to love those uniforms.
So cool.
Yeah, I loved everything about it. But when I got that recruiting letter from you guys, it hurt my heart. It hurt my heart. You remember which letter I'm talking about?
No, whoa. You're going to say something here that's going to get me mad? What was it?
No. All right. So it's my sophomore year in high school. I wrote a letter to 10 other colleges that I wanted to go to. Cincinnati, Villanova, North Carolina, all these guys. Not every school got back to me. Some schools did. Some schools even came to see me play. That's why I'm at St. Raymond's. But I got a specific letter from Villanova, right? And it said that we already have our primary recruits for the year, and basically, thanks for your interest. And I took that letter and I hung that letter up on my door, on the inside of the door when I was in high school for the whole time. And every time I passed, I had to leave my room. I looked at that letter. That letter really motivated me a lot to really wanting to prove myself. But now looking back at it, I mean, I know it's not a letter that you wrote personally, and I understand. I was young. I wasn't really on the radar, so I'm sure you guys didn't know who the hell I was. But I definitely appreciate that letter coming to my house because it motivated me so much, and I wound up going to Villanova anyway. So it worked out.
Here's what I can tell you. I was always very cognizant of when I recruited, if I make a commitment to a guy that about where he's going to be in the program, that's where he's going to be. We didn't have guys transferring out and things like that because what I told them didn't come true. On the other hand, that's why I'm making my living with a microphone now instead of coaching, because I make mistakes like that with you.
Nah, I mean, I wouldn't take it like that, Coach. Don't take it so hard. It's just, because I've got other letters from other schools too, and like I know you didn't personally write that. I know that like schools do stuff like that, but I'm just saying, it just motivated me, and like it could have gave me that push that I needed to really be the player that I am. So I just wanted to like turn it into a positive and say how it helped me, and I wound up going to Nova anyway, so everything worked out.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'm glad I was able to help you at least somehow.
It was all part of the plan, right?
Yeah, it was. It was. But I enjoy watching your teams for sure. Like,
I appreciate that.
Definitely the reason why I wanted to play at Villanova for sure.
Hey, Coach, you talk about being so close with Ed Cooley, and he obviously right now is the talk of the town when it comes to Big East basketball drama. January 27th, he goes back to the Dunk in Providence and bringing those Hoyas with him. The tickets are selling for thousands of dollars. Everyone's trying to resell them, sell them to get in there. I mean, can you tell us about some of the anticipation, the hype around that game and what it's going to mean for the Big East?
Well, the thing about Ed is not only did he do an unbelievable, let's understand this, they should be very happy that they had Ed Cooley there because he did things and they've had great coaches. They had Dave Gavitt, they had Rick Barnes, they had Rick Pitino. They had a lot of great coaches. Nobody went to the NCAA tournament like 5 years in a row like he did. Nobody. I think it was 5 in a row. So he did an unbelievable job there. But the thing about Ed is the fact that he was born there and raised there, that's what makes this thing even, more insane when January 27th comes because, I think people thought, and I do too, and I know the man well, that he was going to be there forever. And, then, the Georgetown job opens and, I was a little surprised, to be honest with you. But I understand sometimes it's just time for a change.
Yeah.
Plus, there is a legacy at Georgetown. You know what I mean? When you think about John Thompson and what he meant to the game of basketball. So there is a certain legacy about, especially for an African-American coach, in my opinion, to be under, in that family of John Thompson. There's a draw there that's beyond basketball. So I understand why Ed did it. It had nothing to do with money. He was making plenty of money where he was. I know he's probably making more now, but I don't think that was the issue. I think it's got more to do with being a part of that John Thompson legacy and how important that felt for him.
Yeah, I agree. Go ahead, OC.
No, I was just going to talk about Georgetown and St. John's. You talk about legacy. You talk about program prestige and how long they've been relevant. And Coach Lappas, we talked a little bit earlier about how just intense the Big East was. I mean, I got so fired up this week. We had Bill Raftery on last episode. Now we're talking to you, Coach. I mean, I'm itching to get basketball started. I was watching the great 30 for 30 Requiem for the Big East with Dave Gavitt talking about the Raleigh Massimino, John Thompson, Lou Carnesecca. I mean, the level of intensity of just and lore that the Big East had for basketball, just nationally speaking, back then is unbelievable. And St. John's and Georgetown were at the forefront of that. And now you look back at the last 10, 20 years, when Coach Wright was running the Big East with Villanova, Georgetown and St. John's were not up to par, right? And St. John's was searching for a head coach. Finally, they have one in Rick Pitino, and immediately before they even play a game, they're making a crazy amount of noise off the court, and now we're getting excited, right? Ed Cooley's at Georgetown, Rick Pitino's at St. John's. These guys have an opportunity to bring back what that legacy for the Hoyas and the Red Storm really means. And I think, like you said before, it's really just a matter of time.
The league needs St. John's and Georgetown to be good, in my opinion. With the tradition that they both have, the league needs them to be good. I mean, I did a game last year at Georgetown. It was a 9:00 game on CBS Sports Network. I'm telling you, I don't know if there were 1,500 people in the building.
Right.
Damn.
And you know what? I love Patrick Ewing, and I think Patrick Ewing is a good coach. He had some kids leave. Pinjo, there's some luck. Everybody assumes that if a guy gets fired, he can't coach. That is absolutely not the case. There's so much luck involved in this, especially nowadays. You know, McClung leaves, Pinjo leaves. He would have had the best backcourt in the country. Instead, he's got neither one of those guys. Star all over. So just could never get it going. But I think the Big East needs those two programs to be good.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, with Ed Cooley going over there, I really feel like that was kind of like a legacy move too. And I kind of think he understood like what could the potential with him going to Georgetown and getting that program back up. Because a lot of guys like Ed Cooley, you know, like you said, he's a good guy.
Oh, yeah.
Some recruits love. When he was at Providence, he was recruiting well, then hit the portal well, and was able to get guys to gel in that 1 year, like you were saying earlier. So I think it was a real good move. I think Ed Cooley knows that he can build that program back up. And I would definitely love to see Georgetown back up high in the ranks in the Big East, as well as St. John's too.
And, you know, I will say this too. I think Georgetown made a big mistake with JT3. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
JT3 was a really good coach. You know, and think about, he was like making the NCAA tournament and getting knocked out early. That wasn't good.
Yeah.
Then what happens for the next few years? Can't even sniff it, except when they won the Big East tournament that year, a couple of years ago, when Patrick was there. So that's also tough. The fact that I think JT3 was and to be John Thompson's son on top of it, and they let you go like that with the record that he had. He went to the Final Four, whatever. So I wasn't a big fan of that move. I can tell you this. I think JT3 is a heck of a coach.
Yeah. I mean, he was good. I felt like Pat Ewing was a little too relaxed. I mean, maybe I could be wrong because I wasn't in the locker room. I'm just going off what I see on TV. But I just felt like he was a little too relaxed. And I felt like the players played that way too on the court.
Yeah, you know what? One thing that
But not saying he's not a good coach. You know?
Right. No, I understand exactly what you're saying. But, sometimes what happens, too, is you're in the NBA. The NBA, you got to have a different mindset. You know what I mean? Because you're playing 80 games. And, tonight you get blown out by 30. And tomorrow you got to be ready to play again. Whereas in college, you get blown out by 30 tonight. I can kill you for 2 or 3 days before we play the next day. You can't do that in the NBA. So, it certainly is a different mindset from how you deal with people psychologically. No doubt.
Yeah. Coach Wright was real big. He was a do it again guy. Like he was real big on do it again. Again. Like if we didn't get it right, defensive rotations, again. We didn't make the right pass, again, do it again. Like everything was so detailed with him. And I think that's why, we was a really good team. And I would have hoped to see some of that from Pat being a little bit more strict with them guys, knowing like his background, Knicks, hard, tough. I'm sorry, but he wasn't tough at Georgetown in my opinion.
And he worked for a lot of tough guys. I mean, he worked for Van Gundy, he worked for Pat Riley. He played for Pat Riley. I mean, he was around some really, really good coaches.
Exactly.
You remember, hey Ray, he was like, "Have you practiced that shot? When have you shot that shot? Or did you practice take that shot?"
Exactly.
I thought that was one of the best like mini rants, and I think what you're talking about is like, man, I want to see more of that. Ewing, like, coach, like, let's get it. But
that should have been. What did I tell you about that shot?
Have you ever shot that shot?
Yes. Like he's saying it like, okay. Yeah, so it should be. He should have addressed that already. It sounded like the way he was saying it, like it's never been addressed. Like this is the first time.
Right.
Like, it was so late in the season. Like shouldn't be shooting no shots anyway.
Yeah.
Well, Coach, Obviously, you're doing some great work at CBS Sports. Can you give us a couple games that you have circled on your calendar that you'll be on the call for?
Well, I don't get my schedule really for another couple of weeks, so I don't know yet where we're going to be. But we always have some good ones. I was fortunate enough to do the Purdue Fairleigh Dickinson game last year in the NCAA tournament,
Right.
Where there's some unbelievable games to do with a 116. So I'm sure there'll be some good ones, as there always are.
Yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to it, Coach. I mean, basketball season just around the corner. The countdown is on. Villanova tips off November 6th, under a month away. It's unbelievable to think about how far we've come since now dealing with the loss to Liberty in the NIT. I don't even want to talk about that, but really, really appreciate your time today, Coach. It was an absolute pleasure to have you on, and really, honestly, hopefully we can get back together down the line and talk more Big East hoops in the middle of the season. We'll see.
I'd love to. Thanks for having me on, guys. Good seeing you, Alan. Good seeing you guys.
Definitely, Coach. Have a good one today.
Thank you. You too.
Yes, sir. Best of luck this year, Coach, and we'll catch up soon, all right?
You got it. Take care.
Thank you. Coach Steve Lappas, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, hey, Ray, that was an absolute blast to have the coach of the 90s on with us. And, man, what a genuine guy. Just so much energy, so much enthusiasm. We really appreciate having Coach Lappas on with us, and we hope to do it again soon.
Yeah, it was definitely good. I felt like this is something to bring some value to the Nova community. This is a guy that we really don't hear from too much. I want to say, maybe kind of mysterious a little bit for like the older guys, the older generation, the younger kids. They might not know too much about Lappas and his era, but hopefully now with this episode, they could go back, check and do some research on him. But I thought he was a really good guy. I think he's a little bit too hard on himself. I like during the interview, I just felt like he was being hard on himself. But I mean, I understand if you're in the middle of Rolly Massimino and Jay Wright, those are like two really big coaches. So there is going to be some criticism in between, especially, those guys won national championships and he didn't. So I just think it was good for him to just get on here and talk about his experiences at Villanova. And we got to talk about Kerry Kittles and Tim Thomas. Overall, for me, it was great, and I definitely learned a lot from him. And it was good hearing from him, because only time you hear from him is on, like, you see him on CBS. So we got an episode for y'all with Steve Lappas. Nobody else is bringing y'all that.
That's right. No, absolutely, Ray. We're here for it, and he was kind enough to join us this morning, and we had that was a lot of fun. I mean, I was smiling ear to ear basically the entire time, and there were a few times for sure where I was like, oh man, I feel for the guy, right?
Yeah.
I'm wearing my 90s Villanova hat for him. I almost busted out the Kerry Kittles 90s jersey as well, but I thought that would have been a little overboard. But
yeah,
this guy, genuine guy, great coach, a fountain of knowledge when it comes to the game of basketball. Knew what it was, the difference between he went from taking a one and done in Tim Thomas. He was totally on board with when it comes to recruiting guys and developing them and turning them from a freshman who he was funny enough to say, oh, they stink as freshmen and then they get better as sophomores and so on. But I mean, Coach Steve Lappas, this guy is one of the best, I think, color commentary guys in college basketball right now.
Yeah.
CBS Sports. And he does a great job on that network, whether he's in the studio, whether he's in the booth. I can't get over how awesome that went. I mean, I really kind of thought, I was like, okay, like, he's really doing us a favor here. I think he really wanted to be on this platform to talk to a guy like you that really was, a mainstay that started, we talk about with Raph, that started the Villanova culture when it comes to the Jay Wright era. And he, like you said, was sandwiched between two, not just the greatest coaches in Villanova history, but Big East college basketball history, Rolly Massimino and Jay Wright are up there when it comes to top 25 coaches of all time.
For sure.
It's a short list of coaches. Those guys will be in the mix. And to me, I was really almost hurt. I wasn't even alive at the time. My dad talks about that loss all the time, right?
Yeah.
The Old Dominion triple overtime loss. They were a 3 seed. Old Dominion was a 14 seed. They just came off the high of winning the Big East tournament in 14 games in a row, right? That is so hard to do. I don't care what year you're talking about in the Big East. But that year was loaded with UConn, with Georgetown, with St. John's. That was stacked like pancakes, Ray.
She was.
And literally, they were everyone's dark horse pick. Like, this team is scorching hot. Kerry Kittles, Jason Lawson. I mean, they were on fire. And to lose that game after being up by 3 with 7 seconds to go, and they lose on a little nickel dimer, as Coach Rapp would say, brutal, gut-wrenching. And they came back the next year and went 26-7. And I know the success in the March Madness wasn't there for Coach Lappas and those teams, but man, they had a lot of great games, a lot of unbelievable wins. Winning the Big East tournament is nothing to scoff at. And I'm so happy right now. I'm gushing over the fact that he was able to come on here and just be real, right? He didn't sugarcoat anything. He was talking about Ed Cooley. We were talking about John Thompson, and we got into it. We were talking straight facts. We were not being, oh, you can't say that. You can't do this. You got to, man. I mean, this is what we do, Ray. This is what we're here for, to get certain people on, whether it be a former Villanova head coach, whether it be an analyst, a former player, a current player. We want to talk facts. We want to know what is up in your mind. What are you thinking about? What are the gut-wrenching, heart-powering, pumping questions that you want to talk about, and they need to be answered. And I thought we did a absolute nail in the freaking hammer to the nail. Great job about what we wanted to talk about. And he kept it going for us. It was easy. It was fun, man. That was, I'm going crazy right now. I'm tripping over my words right now, but I'm just so fired up about how well that went, and I can't wait to have him on again. Coach Lappas.
Yeah, definitely. We had a good week. Raynin Threes had a good week, and Villanova had a good week with their commitment. So, definitely great to have this episode, and it's the 15th episode, right?
That's right.
Yeah, we still going strong. 15 episodes strong. Definitely happy about that. Appreciate the support from everybody. You guys been doing a great job, and I see more people are starting to follow and listen to the podcast. So I just encourage everybody to continue doing that, and it just helps us get out there and be able to contact more people and talk to more and bring you guys more content.
You said it, Ray. We're going to continue to do our best, and it's been great to see the amount of outreach we've been able to get on Instagram, on Twitter, on all sorts of social medias, and it's been fun, right? I mean, it's basketball. It's just a game. This is fun.
It is.
And to talk Big East, to talk Villanova, to talk about the landscape with the transfer portal and the NIL, with Seth Greenberg, Coach Raff, Steve Lappas. We had Colin and Jermaine on, and we're going to continue to bring this content to you guys. So just keep supporting, keep showing us love, keep listening, and we're gonna deliver. That's what we do, Ray. That's what we do here at Raynin Threes.
For sure. Drive the paint, kick it to me in the corner.
That's right. That's what I do. I drive the paint, I kick it to you in the corner, you knock them down. That's the bottom line, baby. And the thing is, you got to support the podcast by getting some merch. We're gonna have hats, t-shirts, polos. We'll have everything for you guys as soon as we possibly can. The shipment is on the way. As soon as it gets in, I'm gonna put that up. I already have the website ready to go, Ray. So all it takes is to finally get that stuff in stock, and we're gonna launch, man. We're gonna launch.
Yep. And I'm excited about that. Like I always say, go cop you a hat. I love that hat. I love the way that hat feels. And I don't know if you guys are gonna be who's coming to Hoops Mania, but I think I'm gonna try to get down there. So definitely would like to meet up with some fans or anybody that's a fan of the show, fan of me, fan of Mike. Definitely got to set something up where we could link up with you guys, meet and greets, answer some questions, whatever the case may be. But that's something that I'm working on now. And I'm going to call it HP, some high profile guests. All right. I'm on my grind right now.
Yes, man. I mean, always, Ray. Always on your grind. I just find it funny with Coach Lappas, with Raph, with Colin, with Jermaine. I think the best content we had was unplanned, right? We had all these questions. We sent them over to them, and we're like, hey, this is what we're going to talk about. But we just kept it rolling, man. And these guys are great. We just thank them so much. You just heard Coach Steve Lappas, Bill Raftery, Coach Seth Greenberg from ESPN, Colin Gillespie, and Jermaine Samuels. I mean, those guys were phenomenal. And we just got to give a big shout out, a lot of love to those guys. But hey, Ray, I mean, we're keeping it rolling. We're hop on the Raynin Threes train, folks, because we are full steam ahead.
For sure, like OC said, full steam ahead and pumping out content for you guys.
That's right. That's right. And hey, Ray, we have.
I feel like I need a punchline or something like that.
we don't want to get too corny here on Raynin Threes, but.
But I be seeing everybody be having their little punchlines.
Well, I saw Tommy Godine. He tweeted, he's like, "Oh, it's Raynin Threes here at the pavilion." I was like, "What did you just say?"
I did see that. I retweeted it too. I like that. I like that, Tommy. I do.
I read the reply with the Dante.
Oh yeah, I did see that.
But hey, Ray, we're talking about meet and greets, man. We're cooking something up for that Maryland game Friday night. We might be doing something in New York City. We'll see. Who knows? We'll just keep circle that date on the calendar, and just make sure you're free Friday night. We might have something for you.
We just gotta plan things, guys, because OC is one of the busiest people in the world. So, we gotta plan around his schedule and things like that. So. Just bear with us.
Oh man, and honestly, shout out to our guy behind the glass making the magic happen, Nick McGow, Nick at Night, as you like to call him, A-Ray. He's making things happen for us. He's teaching me how to do this production stuff when I can, and he's not available because talk about busy schedules. This guy is something serious when it comes to law and crime. Law and Crime Network, folks. Check out Nick McGow doing his thing there. I mean, this is unbelievable, area. We are a serious trio, a force to be reckoned with right now.
How was that dinner with your parents the other day?
It was great, man. Thank you for asking. We had a lot of fun. I showed up 45 minutes late because of our with Bill Raftery, but certainly worth it. They were very nice. They had a drink waiting for me, some sushi. It was a great night, man. Appreciate you asking.
So we didn't have Nick for the episode with Raph. And,
yeah.
And OC was in the background just taking care of everything, video,
taking care of
Skype, and Raph's a little older, so. I mean, yeah, he did. I mean, my parents, they're in their 60s, and they don't know how to use nothing. So you did your thing. You held it down. You got us going. You got the interview done. So I'm happy about that.
That's what counts, right? And he was, Coach Raph, just one of the best. He's a national treasure, that guy, right? I mean, you can't get better than him. Onions, double order. Miniman.
Yeah, Miniman is my favorite every time. Oh, right off the tip, Miniman.
English on it. What a kiss. You cannot beat those catchphrases, and he has a couple of those trademarked actually, which makes sense.
Yeah,
makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Hey, Ray, what a day. And, I'm so excited to get this content to you guys. Really appreciate you listening. Shout out to Susan Falvey. Susan is one of our best supporters. She's always looking at
Super
stuff
supportive.
with graphics and the UFO, the mothership. It's phenomenal. So she's the best.
She made a meme for me too. I haven't posted it yet, but she made something for me. So I can't wait until the right moment comes when I could just post that. I'm trying to go viral.
Try to go viral, bro. Come on. I mean, we're on the right path. I like to think. I mean, hey Ray, I was out the other night. Someone came up to me. I had a Villanova hat on. He's like, "Hey man, you a Villanova fan? You graduated from there?" I'm like, "Yeah, I graduated a few years ago." He's like, "Oh, you look familiar, man." I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, "Oh, you like do any media stuff kind of thing?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I do the podcast." He's like, "Oh, that's right. You had Seth Greenberg on. I work for ESPN." Yeah. I'm like, this is great, Ray. We're on our way, man. We're on our way.
I don't get that. Like, if I'm in the supermarket or something, I see North Carolina jersey. I'm in Atlanta, so
You're in Atlanta.
North Carolina hoodies, North Carolina t-shirts, and like I approach these people too. I'm like football, basketball, because you got to ask that down here, and a lot of people are basketball fans, and all I say is I'm a Villanova fan, and the faces they make is hilarious. But none of them ever recognize, like they don't know who I am. Well, I mean, I have braids. I look completely different, but nobody knows who I am. But I always say that all the time. I'll be like, I'm a Villanova fan. And all the North Carolina fans down here, they're like, oh, my God, you guys cheated. You guys are so lucky.
Wow.
We're going to pay you guys back. You guys didn't have a good year last year. Yeah.
I mean, I think we owed them one, especially after 05, Ray.
Exactly. We definitely did. And we got our payback. So I'm not tripping no more.
Dude, I mean, the Carolina fans are everywhere. But, that's the thing. Like, there's not many college basketball teams that have, like, a fan base for people that didn't actually go to the school or don't know anyone that went to the school. They just, like, are fans of them because they like them as a team. Carolina, Duke, Kentucky, UConn a little bit. Michigan,
They all, I call them Laker fans.
UCLA.
They all are Laker fans.
Yeah, it's a similar type of mindset. You're right. And it's just funny because Villanova starting to get to that realm in terms of the Philly area. There's a lot of people I know that root for Villanova that didn't go there, and they went to a different school. They're from the area. They like watching the team. They'll go to the games at the Pavilion, Wells Fargo. They'll tailgate, and they'll be watch the game at Xfinity Live. So we're back, Ray. We are back in a big way this year. I'm telling you, watch out for this team because everyone is saying. I think people that actually are really paying attention are like, okay, this team's going to be good. Other people in the national media more so saying like, oh, yeah, the Big East is stacked. It's UConn, Marquette, and Creighton's league to lose. But watch out. The Cats, St. John's, and Georgetown. It's going to be a fun season.
There's one thing I want to address. You said Philly, and you said we back. So last year I seen a couple of tweets about, Villanova is not part of Philly. Like, you guys suck. Like, y'all not Philly, right? But when we win, we Philly, right? Last year, we wasn't Philly.
But nailed it.
In 2018, we won that national championship. We was Philly. So I'm just want to know, like, are we Philly this year, or do we have to wait a couple of games for y'all to decide if we Philly this year? That's all I want to know.
I mean, hey,
I was kind of disappointed. I was kind of disappointed in that, like, for Philly to disown Villanova like that, because we was having a down year. But I love you guys, Philly. Don't take this and try to come at me. I love you guys. I was just hurt because you guys didn't want to claim us last year, and I'm speaking facts. Y'all did want to claim us.
No, you're absolutely speaking facts, and it's funny. Same conversation I had that I referenced earlier about when I was wearing this hat actually, and they were like, and like one of the people that I was talking with also didn't know Villanova, So it's like funny. One of the guys like literally like recognized us from Raynin threes, and then the other person didn't know what Villanova was. I was like, oh, it's a small Catholic university outside of Philly. I said outside of Philly. I think that's fair, right? You know, it's on the main line. It's not in Philly. It's outside of Philly. But the parade was in Philly, 2016, 2018.
Mm-hmm.
We play a lot of home games at the Wells Fargo Center in Philly, which is where the 76ers play, which is where the Philadelphia Flyers play. I think it's pretty fair to say that we should be claimed as Philly. I think that's completely fair. We play games at the Wells Fargo Center, right?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Like, it's Temple, LaSalle. We play the Palestra is great. I love that place. I've been there a few times and I've had a great time.
Those schools are in Philly, and Philly don't even want to claim it.
Yes, exactly, because they stink.
That's what I'm saying.
5, City 6, get your numbers up. We need better Philadelphia basketball when it comes to Temple, St. Joe's, Penn, Drexel, LaSalle. Shout out Coach Rath. Come on,
Yeah.
get those numbers up.
Or they could become part of our farm system. They could recruit guys that we're not really sure about, and they could have
Like
a good year.
Like Tim Thomas.
Yeah.
Thomas.
They could have a really good year and then transfer to our school. They could go to the transfer portal or come to our school and get NIL. So I think that would be great for the Big Five. Like, you guys can recruit some of the players that we're not too sure about, and we can see how they develop. And if they eventually play good, then hit the transfer portal and come to Villanova. It's a perfect system. Perfect.
Well, I mean, it's funny. My mom graduated from Fordham. My dad went to Villanova. Eric Paschal went to Fordham for a year, won A-10 freshman of the year, transfers to Villanova. My dad was like, oh, Nicole, Fordham.
And that's crazy. I don't even know if a lot of people remember that he went there.
No, people have no idea. People don't talk about that. He's a transfer. He transferred to Villanova, one of the best players we've had in the last decade. In the Jay Wright era. Awesome player. And just funniest guy ever. We need to have him on the show.
Okay.
We need to have Eric Paschal on the show. He is hilarious. Dude, after they won the title in 2018, they came to our party the next night.
Yeah.
He had everybody dying laughing. Everyone shut up. It was hundreds of people at the party. Just all eyes on E. And we had a bracket up, A-Ray. Whole tournament up. He went game by game, round by round. He gave a little recap of the game, who played well, who didn't play well, all the expectations, everybody kicking stack to beat it. It was the funniest thing I've ever witnessed. I'll send you some videos. I don't know if they're a little, they're not PG rated, but it's just hysterical content from Eric. We need to have Paschal on the show. So, Chassis,
let's make it happen. We can make it happen.
We're gonna make it happen, right? This is what we do. Full steam ahead, baby.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, folks, thank you guys so much for tuning in to the latest edition of Raynin Threes with Alan Ray. I'm your host, Mike O'Connell. Thank you guys so much, and we bid you adieu. Go Cats.
Kick to me, and I'll hit the three.
Just came up with that. That's pretty good.
Oh, man. Hey, love you guys. Appreciate the support. We're going to have merch coming out soon. Keep tuning in. Keep that support coming. Thank you, guys.
All right. Peace out.